My name is Jupiter, and my pronouns are they, them. I am currently in my study in the north of Melbourne, living through lockdown number 7. Yay! I'm a member of Canteen Australia on the Victorian leadership team, and I am currently studying environmental policy at university. And when I do have some rare free time from all the crazy assessments, I like to listen to horror podcasts, probably an unhealthy amount.
No, they're interesting. I've listened to some before.
They're pretty good.
Yeah, awesome. Great. Well, my name's Chelsea. My pronouns are she, her. I'm 21. I am currently in Michigan in the United States, but I was born and raised in Sydney, Australia, and I am here for school, and I also play soccer at my university. So I'm on a scholarship here, and I am at a business school. I'm studying project management. My role at Work Purple, I've recently become a board director, and before that I was one of the executives for the Youth Action Council, and I'm still kind of in that role and really overseeing our youth teams and acting as a liaison between the board and our youth groups. As we are a youth organisation, it's really important that the voice of our youth is heard, and it's my job to make sure that I get funding and approval for our ideas. And one of our youth ideas was the theme of this year's Work Purple Day, which was start the conversation, keep it going. So I think it's really special to see it all come together. But yeah, that's me.
Amazing. What got you started with Work Purple Day? What made you want to be involved?
I first celebrated it in high school, I think in like year 10. So around like 2016 or something like that. And around that time I was starting to like figure out like who I was, and like I definitely knew about like my interest to females, I would put it that way. And not that I had put a label or anything, but I knew there was that part of me. And I was generally like always like Work Purple Day always meant something special to me. And I was in like a social justice council at my school, and one of the teachers like he was like out and proud, and that was really special to have a teacher like that. And he came in and he said, all right, everyone, we're going to be our next fundraiser, whatever's going to be Work Purple Day. And I had no idea what it was. So I think it was really special that he was able to bring that to our school. And I think if he didn't announce it and encourage us to do it, like where I would be right now. Because that day was really special for me at school, because I didn't always have support at home. And so being able to come to school on Work Purple Day and seeing like so many people wearing purple shirts, like purple and rainbow decorations all around the school, and like seeing all these different people in my grade and grades above and below that I wouldn't think would be supportive, but they actually were, and like the staff as well. I think that was really heartwarming, and it was exactly what I needed to, I guess, be more confident in who I was and accepting of myself. So that's just a little bit of what Work Purple Day means to me. And I guess after that day, I celebrated it again the year after, and I helped organise it and everything. And I think each year it grew on me and how much it meant to me, to the point where I reached out to them and volunteered. And it's been 3 years since I've been with Work Purple, and I've had some really, really amazing opportunities to share my story, to get, I guess, kind of work experience as well, work on different projects, but most of all just I guess, work with Rainbow Youth across Australia and see our impact, and know that we're helping so many people like myself when I was younger. So that's why I do it.
Amazing.
But yeah, I guess, what does Work Purple Day mean to you, and have you celebrated before?
Yeah, well, I actually unfortunately didn't encounter it until I was in kind of my second year of year 12. I did it over 2 years, and I moved schools for that final year, and it was celebrated there. I'm like, oh, what's this? This looks interesting, and it was really amazing. At that point in time, I was just figuring myself out, but didn't quite have all the language I needed. But I think it's just an amazing day, especially with that focus on youth and on the young people at all levels, especially in schools, because that day is a massive celebration, and it's brilliant to see all that acceptance. And even if you feel overwhelmed in the day and you can't quite place it, it kind of highlights to you who the safe people are in your environment and who you can talk to even after the day. And like you said, keep that conversation going. And that was always great for me, especially in that year. I'm like, it helped me make friends and start to kind of unravel everything that was going on in my head and in my heart to figure out who I am.
Yeah, that's so great to hear, and that's exactly why we do the work that we do. We're Purple's all volunteer run, and for the amount of work that we put out, we actually have quite a small team. But stories like yours, like mine, are the reason why we do what we do. And I'm really glad that you did have a Work Purple Day experience at school, because I know that there's a lot of other youth that don't get that opportunity, and it can be a big celebration, or it could be something as small as having a pride sticker on your laptop, or having a rainbow lanyard or something. Us kids, we notice that, and it can mean a lot, and I think that's the message that we need to keep sending out, that it doesn't have to be really big celebrations. It can be small things, but they're just as meaningful.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I'm glad that you had that really great experience, and I can relate, so I know how it feels. I will. Let me think of the next question. Do you have a next question to follow up?
So obviously for you, Wear It Purple was a big thing with starting to figure yourself out, and that's truly amazing. And for me, I guess I just hope it continues to do that, because these are important conversations to have, especially with young people, because being a young person and a teenager is hard enough already. There is so much craziness going on at Canteen. We get that because it's all about more crazy being dumped in a young person's life. But I think with that connection and intersection of also being a rainbow young person, it just adds to this. And, as a young person, you spend most of your time at school and you spend your time around all these people, and it can be overwhelming, but I love that it helps create those safe spaces and that feeling of empowerment, which is so important. It's great having mundane everyday moments, but feeling empowered sometimes as a rainbow young person is just amazing.
Definitely. I definitely have one of those moments after that first Work Purple Day. I remember getting home and getting off the bus, and usually I hated taking that bus. It would take me an hour trip home instead of 10 minutes, and it was always hot and stinky. I dreaded that. But after that day, I was just so happy. I got off that bus, I was smiling, and I just felt empowered. I felt comfortable, I felt supported, accepted, seen. Yeah, and I've had other moments like that too, at Mardi Gras. I've marched in Mardi Gras twice, and just attended one other time, and it's that feeling that you get when you're in those safe spaces, and it's very special. Yeah.
It's that just overwhelming feeling of community in places where you never thought you'd find it before. And it's amazing. I know that feeling. I went to, not Mardi Gras, Melbourne the past few years has been a bit crazy in terms of things like that going on. But we have the Midsummer Pride Festival, which I actually attended with Canteen back right at the beginning of 2020, right at the beginning of last year before everything happened. And it was just such an amazing feeling marching down the streets of St Kilda and seeing all the people lined up, like watching and celebrating, and like people in pubs, like over balconies, rainbows everywhere. And it was just, at that time, I was still figuring myself out, and I hadn't had any labels yet to put on myself, but I knew that no matter how I labeled or identified myself, that was my place and my community. And it was amazing, especially to attend that with Canteen, which was such a big part of my life, to know that there was safe spaces there for people like me.
That's so nice to listen to, and I like my Mardi Gras experience is like very similar as well. It's the way that I've described it before is like gay Christmas, and it's just like a wild feeling. You just get to dance and do whatever, and there's thousands and thousands of people cheering you on just for being you, and it can mean so much to someone who, like, to have the support of thousands of strangers, and if they haven't gotten that from people that they really need most in their lives, it can mean so much. And yeah, I'm glad that you get to have that you got to have that experience at Midsummer Festival as well, and because I know Mardi Gras is very Sydney dominant as well.
Yeah, it is my hope one day to make it up there for Mardi Gras, though I feel like you said, it will be gay Christmas.
It is. And it goes so quickly, and it's just like, okay, I have all these people like cheering me on. Don't know why, but I'll take it. It's a great feeling, and so special. It sucks that it's only once a year, but very lucky to have that opportunity and to be able to march freely and do it safely.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And has there, I guess, with part of, talking about these topics, have you had any, more tougher experiences as a young rainbow person?
Yeah, it's not all sunshine and rainbows, obviously. I feel luckier than most, though, because when I came out to my family, I was supported, and I didn't have to worry about, where I would be living or anything like that after I came out. But there is still that difference, coming from a family where I am kind of alone in that situation. It's like, I know my family accepts me and loves me, but it's also at the same time hard for them to understand as people outside the community looking in. And they do what they can to support me, but there are times where I will have an experience and I'll try and talk about it, and they'll just look at me through confused, like, I don't think that's normal. It's just like, oh, and I forget sometimes. But at the same time, I'm also really lucky that my best friend and I ended up coming out to each other at the same time. We laugh about it so much because we were both each other's beacons of straight for a while there. Like, we had a conversation about a month before we came out. It's like, you dream about kissing girls sometimes, that's normal. And we're both like, yeah, that's normal. No, that was not a straight thing to do. And we laugh about it sometimes. But there are always those harder moments. Like, where I live, it's a suburb, and it's a bigger suburb, but it has very much country town mentality. So there isn't as many of those visible safe spaces. So it kind of felt isolating growing up in this area, despite having friends who are also rainbow young people. it took us all a bit longer to get to that point where we felt comfortable being who we are, where we live, because I still get looks when I go down the street sometimes and kind of just have to brush it off. But yeah, it's not always easy.
Yeah, unfortunately it's not, but I guess it's those experiences that make us who we are as well, make us stronger, as tough as they can be. Yeah, definitely. Did your at your school, did you have a rainbow group, like a GSA or anything?
Not really. I ended up accidentally being friends with all the other rainbow young people. Just kind of, I feel like we have those magnets in us at youth at finding people that are like us, even if we're not out. But we didn't have many groups or organizations at all at my school. We were just a small public school. But yeah, we found each other in a way. But I would have loved if we had something like a GSA, and I haven't been back to my old high school in a while, but I hope that soon, or even now, they start to have these things. And I know when I was leaving, there was more openly, like more pride events, and there was that recognition, especially around June. So I'm hoping it keeps going, keeps the momentum going.
Definitely. And like the reason why I asked was because I wanted to see if I guess things had changed and improved, because I know at my high school, since I left, that they started like a GSA. It was under a different name, but same kind of concept. And I think it just goes to show that like change is coming, and it's good change.
Yeah.
And that kind of makes you feel that the work that we do is paying off, and whether you're in an organization or you're just being yourself, really, and being proud, like out and proud about it, it's all coming together slowly. And although there's still room for improvement, I think that we are coming a long way, which is really good to see. I just wanted to hear if your high school, whatever, has improved, and it's really great to hear that it has.
Yeah, no, I feel like change is coming, and it is inevitable, and it will be here, but it's never going to take away the importance of days like Wear It Purple Day or events like Pride, because I feel like even if we reach, or even when I should say, we reach this amazing point where everything is accepted and visible and out there all the time, it's still so important to connect with our history. Because things weren't always like this, and yes, we have it easier than the past generation, but it doesn't always mean we have it easy. But it is amazing when you see things get better.
100%. I agree. Yeah, it's really empowering, I would say, again. And I had a comment I wanted to say before, but I forgot when you were talking about how you were with Canteen at the Midsummer Festival, and you mentioned something about that intersectionality between the two groups. I was at a conference once, and there was a speaker, and I actually think it was Magda, I don't know how to say her last name, but Sharon from Kath and Kim, love her, icon. Sure. And she was speaking at this charity event that I was at, and she had said one thing that's like stayed with me ever since, which was like over 2 years ago. But she said that we're the minority within minorities, and I don't know why that stuck with me so much, but I guess I think just means to me that like no matter where we are, like we can find our people. I guess.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah. And also that idea. Oh, sorry.
No, you go.
No, it's also that idea that we exist in all groups of society. We're not just your stereotypical white gay men. We're in every group, and we will continue to be.
And I think it goes to show that, like, it goes to show the importance of days like Wear Purple, like you were saying before, and that there is no blueprint for what a queer person or a trans person or anyone in the community can look like, sound like, anything, you know?
Yeah.
I know, just want to bring that one up. I don't know. I forgot about it.
Definitely. Like, the things you hear early on in your journey do stick with you so much. One of the most important things I heard early on in my journey was to not rush yourself and, like, to not worry about labels and anything, because at the end of the day, you are who you are, regardless of what label you put on yourself. And labels are important and they give us power sometimes, but it's important to remember that they're not like static boxes, that you will try on all different kinds of labels throughout your journey, and some of them will work and some of them won't, and you might switch between a few and go back and forth, but that doesn't invalidate your experience in any way. And it's despite the fact that you may change labels, certain parts of the community are not phases, and it's not a transition from one part to the other. And each time you spend with each different section of the community will be so important to your journey. And I just remember hearing that when I was first, coming to terms with my identity and learning who I was. And it's something that's stuck with me.
Yeah, that's such a, great piece of advice. And it's something that I've had to explain to like someone like my mum, even like now. I'm not, and like you said about the labels, like it can mean like pride and all of that, and it's great, but also people shouldn't feel obliged to put a label on themselves if that's not what they feel comfortable with. And that's not to like put people down who use a label or anything like that. But for me personally, like I haven't been someone that's put a label on myself, and it's not something that matters to me personally. And I just like, similar to what you were saying, like I'm just myself, and sexuality is fluid, so is gender. And because I find my mum will often ask me, okay, so is this you saying that you're definitely gay? I don't like, she'll make a few like homophobic or like biphobic comments, but I think it comes from a place of her not understanding. And as difficult as these conversations may be, it's important to just stand your ground and do your best to educate. When she says those kind of things, I have been just giving her that same response, being like, you can put a label on me, I don't care, I'm not phased, I'm just who I am, and who I love, it doesn't phase me too much. And I've said, Mum, like I'm more into girls. I could possibly be with someone of another gender, but that's just not what it could happen. I'm not really looking for it, but it could happen. And I said, whatever you want to put in it, you can go for it, but you can just label me as Chelsea and I'll be happy. But I think that's a really good piece of advice, to not rush yourself into anything. And I think I've been in my journey for 6 years or something, and probably threw on a few labels here and there. But like you were saying, there's no rush for it, and if things change, that's okay too.
Yeah, no, definitely. Because I know when I started out my journey, I had one label, and since then I've gone through a few, and I love what you said. You can label me whatever you want. You can label me Jupiter, and that works just fine. I love that. That's such a powerful sentiment.
And it's not to say that I'm not proud of who I am, because I am proud of myself, but I don't feel obliged to go something else and be like, yeah, I'm this. It doesn't mean that I'm ashamed of who I am or anything. Yeah, is there any other like really like moments or things that you've heard from people in media or like personally, other pieces of advice that you've had?
I just think it all for me, as someone who likes to study English and read a lot, it comes down to language, and language is so important. And without like certain terms, I wouldn't have been able to identify myself. And I feel like as like out rainbow young peoples and as advocates for the community, getting that language to kids at all ages is so important, because I didn't hear about, so I personally identify as non-binary, which is a word I didn't hear until last year. And as such, it took me until I was about 20 years old to understand that part of myself and to start to figure out my gender. And I just think back to myself in high school and the importance that knowing these words and having this language would mean. Like, even you don't have to label yourself with any of them, but simply exploring them opens you to new ideas. And that's what school is meant to be about. It's meant to be about showing you all these ideas you'll encounter at the world and teaching you how to think about them and how to assess them critically. And it's why days like Wear It Purple Day are so important, because they show that community, but they can also introduce you to new things that you never understood and that were just you, and they are just you, but you can feel so alone in some aspects of you. And when you learn this term and about this community, it can just be this light bulb moment of, I felt alone, but I'm not alone. There are hundreds and thousands of people that feel the same way or similar ways, and it's like coming home. That sounds so cheesy, but it definitely is. And some of it is, it's just such this hug. And every time I read about the history of things like Pride, I just feel so many different emotions, because I'm sad about everything people in the past went to, but I am happy and empowered. And seeing things like, if you watch footage or read about pride parades from the 80s, you just think about how brave every single one of those people marching was, because unlike us, the people that were standing along the streets, we're not always cheering them along. And even now, not everyone along that street is cheering them along, but the cheers definitely drown out all the other negative sounds. And it's just amazing. And it's not so much a piece of advice I've been given, but something I've come to learn throughout my journey, is that language and community are so important.
Definitely. And I also think like I've had conversations about this in the past, but like representation is super important and can mean a lot. Like representation could mean, that could be in the media, that could be at school, in your workplace, just being seen and heard. And like we were talking about before, it doesn't have to be big things. It could be really small things like rainbow stickers, like pride pins, and even like here in Michigan, like I'm so far from home here, but I have a professor who I met with yesterday, and he was wearing a pride flag on his lanyard. And like he's told us about his family and his wife and his kids all the time. So like me just assuming in class before, that just would have gone over my head, you know. But then seeing that, it means a lot to have that allyship within a community that and whilst being so far away from home. But yeah, I think just back to my first point, I think that representation in media especially has improved in the past couple of years. Like, I know when I was a younger teen, there weren't many shows that showcased young rainbow people, and if they did, it wouldn't be very in-depth, and it would, like, the whole story plot would be about them coming out. Like, you know, there's a lot more to people in our community than just coming out as well. And I think we are seeing more diversity within media as well. Diversity within LGBTQ plus shows and things like that. So it's and I think for the younger generation coming up as well, having those people to look up to and see on TV is going to be really important. And I think one thing recently that just came up are the new Wiggles. I don't know if you saw that. Yeah, but yeah, and it's like they're not going over the top with it, I don't think, and not from what I can see, but it's just like they're making it more casual, and that's all it needs to be, I guess, normal. Because, yeah, so, and you know, a lot of kids will be watching that, so it's going to be good, I hope. And I hope others can follow that.
No, I love what you say about representation. For me, casual representation is the most powerful, because I feel like sometimes, as being a rainbow young person, especially if you're out in a community or a place where there's not many people out, you are viewed as that novelty, as the, you know, token minority. But when you have that casual representation, it's just like, yeah, we are, at the end of the day, despite anything else, we are still people like everyone else. We still function the same, we still experience the same emotions, we still love, and it may not be the same type of people you love, but we definitely still do. And just seeing that casual representation and knowing that there are people, fictional or otherwise, out there who are just living their lives as normal, but with this amazing thing, just makes me so happy every time I come across it.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree. And like, even being here in Michigan, like, I was driving around like my local town around here today, and I saw a few houses and like shops with like pride flags in their windows, and like I noticed that straight away, and I'm sure you do too. My eyes are just like a magnet for rainbow stuff, you know. And it's so small, but like means a lot. It's like that big hug we were talking about before.
Knowing that wherever you go in the world, even like if you're so far from home, there is still a home there for you. There is still a community. Absolutely.
Yeah. Was there, if you could tell your younger self, let's say like, I don't know, 12-year-old Jupiter, if you could tell them anything, what would you tell them?
I tell them that crazy stuff is coming, and that the next few years aren't going to be easy, and there's going to be a lot of bad stuff happen, but the bad stuff is always going to make way for the good, and that they don't know how strong they are and how much they will live through and not only survive but thrive through. I think that's one of the big things about being a member of Canteen, is that you have something horrible go on in your life, but you still keep moving through it. And it's hard and it sucks, and there will be days where you just want to lay down and give up, and that's okay. Because no matter how many days like that you have, you will always pick yourself back up. And if you're lucky and if you surround yourself with the right people, there will always be people there to pick yourself back up with you. And I would tell them to make friends with people and to lean into those friendships, because you're going to grow with those people and you're going to become some unrecognizable doppelganger in 10 years' time. But at the end of the day, that person is still you, and it was still who you were meant to be, because everything that has ever happened in your life has led you up to this exact moment. Yeah, I would tell them that.
Wow, that's so amazing, and yeah, wow, and I'm speechless. So nice, and yeah, very nice message. Love that.
What about yourself?
Where to start, really? I think I would just really push the importance of, I guess the first thing that comes to mind is not trying to please everyone. And that's something that I've really tried to learn in the past year or so. And you don't always need acceptance from everyone. As tough as that may be for someone like myself who really values being seen and being validated, you don't always need it. And it might be tough at first, but at the end of the day, you just need yourself to accept yourself. And if you have that acceptance from, a few other people, that's great, but really all you need is yourself and even one more other person, and it can make a huge difference. And I would say, like you said, find your people and find your family, find your community, because they get you and they will be there to pick you up and dry your tears and listen to anything that's going on. I think I would also say, like you were saying before, don't rush into things. But I would also remind young Chelsea to keep being confident in who she is and just keep being confident in what she's doing and the choices that she makes in life. Let me think what else. And that, I think I would just really push for, you don't need to fight for anyone's acceptance or validation, and that things will get better.
It's amazing, and it's so true. Yeah.
I think a lot of people can relate to what we both said.
Yeah.
And I think the main, I guess, theme in both of our messages would be that it gets better and to keep going. What would you say?
Yeah, and to be kind to yourself.
Absolutely. Yeah, don't be so hard on yourself.
Yeah.
You tell me every day.
Because you're a human being, and stuff's gonna happen, and you're not built to fight everything. So kindness.
Definitely. And was there like someone, like a really close friend or a family member that you first opened up to and that you could always feel safe talking to?
Yeah, so my best friend Milne, they mean the world to me. We've been friends since we were 14 years old, and I love them dearly. And we were lucky in that way that we kind of went through this journey together at the same time and made the same mistakes, but I always knew I could speak to them about whatever I'm going through. They're basically my clones, so I knew they would always understand and always stand by me, and I always stand by them, even when they're putting sour cream in their tea. I agree with that, but I stand by their decisions, and I know that they will stand by mine.
That's great. All you need is that one person, really. Huh?
Yeah.
I think growing up, family-wise, it was always my older brother. and he's 6 years older than me, so it was a bit, he moved out a couple years ago and became an adult and stuff, so it was a bit difficult not having him around all the time to reach out to, because he was someone that could also talk to my parents. But like friend-wise, I would say I had like two really amazing friends. One was I've known since I was 6, and she's one of those friends that we don't see each other all the time, we don't talk all the time, but when we do talk, it's like nothing's changed. And she's just someone that always gets me and can always give me like good logical advice and would always have my back. And she actually has two mums as well, so she understands a lot of I guess about us. And the other friend would be my friend Aislinn, who I met through high school, and she was like my first friend that I came out to in high school. And it was kind of like the same situation that you and your friend had. We both kind of like came out to each other at the same time, and we were like, haha, like that Spider-Man meme, and it's like it was like that, and we were like, we were so small back then. We laugh about it now, and same experience that you had. And like Asian just really always understood a lot of what I was going through, and they were just really great in talking to my parents and always sticking up for me and being there with me to enjoy all the good moments and the bad. And obviously I have my work purple family now, and the youth members as well. It's always great to have that community, definitely. Oh, and now I've got my amazing girlfriend too. I should mention her.
Oh yeah, can't forget the girlfriends. They are amazing. Yeah,
so we've only been together about like 14 months, but there's been a lot of, I guess, growth with myself in that time, with my family, like with my relationship with my family and who I am, and hasn't always been positive, but I definitely couldn't have done any of it without her. But I guess it goes to show that even when we do know who we are, things, that's not the end of it for us. We're always, unfortunately, we're most likely always going to face some sort of, I guess, not just like discrimination, I would say misunderstanding, because when people act in certain ways, it's because they're not educated. So, and I think that's why I love this 16, because starting a conversation, as big or as little as it can be, opens a door to a lot of other conversations that need to be started.
Yeah, no, definitely.
So I know this is like a question kind of similar to the last one, but if you had like a younger queer person come up to you, or young rainbow person come up to you, and they were struggling with something, I don't know, help me with a scenario. I don't know, maybe they were, I'm trying to think of something that the youth members have spoken to me about. For example, a young rainbow person's come up to you and they've said that they're experiencing some like homophobia within the classroom by like some classmates. Like, what kind of things would you say? What kind of advice would you give?
Yeah, that's a really hard one, and something I've seen happen firsthand to friends of mine at school. And for that person, I would tell them to know who their safe people are first, especially in teaching staff, because you need that person in your corner, and it especially helps when that person has the power and the authority to do something about it. And I would make sure that they knew what was going on. But in addition to that, I would make sure that this person had at least one friend, at least one person, like we were saying, that they could confide in and be with, because that is a really horrible situation. And even once that bullying and homophobia might stop, it doesn't mean the effects of it haven't hurt you. And having that teacher stop that helps more from happening, but having that person in your corner who you can go to helps you unpack everything and can help you understand that what they're saying is not about you and it doesn't reflect who you are as a person. Because when those attacks are being leveled at you personally, even though if you may know logically that it's not about you and it's about things that they don't understand, it's hard when it's at you personally. You don't have that sort of outside perspective. So having a person that can bring that outside perspective and bring in support just will help you so much in being able to steel yourself and move on from things that can be really horrible.
Yeah, that's really good advice, and yeah, it sucks that cases like that are still happening, and I think it becomes increasingly difficult when the staff, like, they don't know which staff that they can approach, or even if they do, if it still happens after that. Yeah, it's tricky, but I think the advice that you gave was really great. And I guess if you had a message for like just any young rainbow person, like if you could sum it up in like a few sentences or like 3 things, like if like your final message to like young rainbow people, like what would you say? Like a 3 things that come to mind.
Yeah, well, I think it comes back to what we've been saying today. So I'd say to take your time, to be kind to yourself, and to find your people. Because if you have those 3 things, you will be able to weather so much. So much that comes your way can be helped with that. What about you? What's your advice?
Yeah, I would say similar. I'm just trying to think how else I would word things. What else I would say? I would just, I think being patient with yourself, being kind to yourself, and that it gets better. Yeah.
Definitely.
And in relation to Canteen, how has Canteen helped you feel proud of and also accepted for who you are?
Yeah, well, for me, the first thing that always comes to mind when I think about Canteen and Pride is that first Midsummer Pride Festival, and going there and encountering terms and things that I never would have known before and helping me on my journey. But their continued support as well. Canteen runs an online program called Can Queer, which is for young rainbow members of the organisation to come together. And it's such an amazing space because it deals with so much. It's just fun to have a conversation because, you know, everyone in that space gets you. You know, they've been through similar things with their sexuality and their gender identity, and they also have this cancer journey. Because even I think when you find those safe spaces for your sexuality or your gender identity, the cancer experience is always this thing that's kind of in the corner, and it's such a big part of who you are because Canteen, like Wear It Purple, being an organisation that does deal with young people, things that happen in your youth shape you in so many ways. So having that space where all these different factors that kind of have shaped who I've become today come together, and just having that community there is so important. And I know I can walk into any canteen office and I will see pride flags on the walls, and I know the staff understand and recognise those struggles of rainbow young people, especially in this already precarious space, and that they are there to help, and that the members are so kind and accepting. And I've met some truly wonderful people in this organisation, some great friends, and I know no matter who I am that they will accept that.
That's amazing. I was going to ask if you had met anyone through Canteen, and it sounds like you have met many people, and I think that obviously that means a lot to you. I'm sure it means a lot to the people at Canteen. So that's really great to hear, and I think you should be so proud of yourself, and I'm so inspired by just by talking to you. I've been really thankful for this opportunity.
Oh, me too. Hearing about your journey with Wear It Purple has been amazing as well. It's such a great organisation, and the work you do is so important.
It's funny because being like Wear It Purple obviously is only once a year, but we're working all year round for this day and other events like Mardi Gras, and we're trying to branch out into other states, but with COVID it's been a bit difficult. But it's funny because we put in all this time and effort, and it's not always, we don't always get to see the effect that Wear It Purple actually has. We can't be in 1,000 places at once, firstly, and we don't always get the opportunity to talk to people who have had great experiences with Wear It Purple Day as well. So it's I really am thankful for hearing you share your experiences. It's really special, and it makes me feel like what I do is worth it. I mean, I always know it's worth it because it meant so much to me when I was younger. But it's nice hearing it from someone else too.